might have, and thank you so much for asking me to be here. Yeah, in the back. Mm-hmm. Yes, so the question is, what can we do as we sit in this position where we're graduating our students and they're going into a job market that, and an economy that's struggling? Well, I think that there are several things that give me optimism. And the first is the determination that the graduate students and undergraduates that I see graduating have to help the greater good. The second thing is that it's, at least with the undergraduates, they are more interested in where they're going to live than exactly what their job is going to be. And so the undergraduates, I think, are leaving college, and a lot of them have just decided they're going to live in Washington. And they're going to go to Washington and go on Craigslist and get a job at Starbucks, and then, as the job market improves, they'll see what else happens in Washington and they'll take a job there. So the undergraduates, I think, are kind of in a resilient spot, and I have a lot of confidence in their ability to ride this out. I think the graduate students who are coming out into a job market where, I don't know about how it is at your university, but here in Arts and Sciences, we canceled 40 searches this year in the middle. So we had 40 positions that we advertised for in the summer, then many of which we brought candidates in, and we've now suspended all of those searches. So there's no way to paint a short-term picture that looks good. There are a few universities and a few states that are still in reasonable shape. There are a lot of states in the Midwest that don't have the same kind of fluctuations that we have: South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Utah. So there are a few jobs out there. But I think that, clearly what's going to happen is that folks are going to end up in postdoctoral positions for longer than they planned. And the good news there, I think, is that if federal research spending goes up, that at least there'll be positions there for folks to get. And, we're just going to have to sit tight here while things straighten out. I think one of the big questions that we have to ask ourselves is, if we've got this bolus of people that we've just graduated that are sitting here waiting for the job market to open up, how many more people should we put in that pipeline right this minute? And you have to balance that against the fact that there are more talented people that want to come to graduate school here than we're used to seeing. So everybody's got to make their own kind of ethical decision about this. And I think the most important thing there is we've got to make sure that the people who are coming into graduate school have a realistic picture of what we see from our vantage point. So there's not a lot of happy stuff to share on the short-term side. Yeah.
Chancellor, I'd like to thank you for your comments, but let me throw something back at you. All universities claim to support interdisciplinary work.
Mm-hmm.
A great virtue of universities. The reality is getting tenure, assistance, remains very siloed, is a problem. What do you think universities and all the chancellors do to help create greater support for true interdisciplinarity?
Yes. Yeah, you're not throwing anything back at me because I get that question all the time. So there's nobody engaged in interdisciplinary work who thinks that universities are doing a perfect job of recognizing it. So I think that the only way to value interdisciplinary work in a way that addresses specifically the problem that you're talking about is that the leadership of the units involved have to all buy in to the individual faculty member or the area of research that they're working on. So I think I can encourage the provost to, let's say we need deans to work together, to get deans to come together around these individual things, or if you're in a College of Arts and Sciences, have lots of departments, the Dean of Arts and Sciences has to promote this. I think the thing that we have, one of the mistakes that we've made is that people in leadership positions have said, okay, we want to encourage more interdisciplinary work. We'll charge some task force to go study it. The task force will propose a list of recommendations. We'll implement a few of them, and then we'll congratulate ourselves on encouraging interdisciplinary work and move on. And I don't think that's there's a simple solution to this. At least as we get good at this, every tenure case that comes through is a one-off case. People have to be committed to working through those as they come through, and so we can't lull ourselves into this idea that we can just encourage interdisciplinary work on our list and then after 6 months cross it off. It's something that we have to work at every day, and all of us who are in leadership positions have to be committed to it all the time. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me to talk in important issues. And as an international student, I'm to this university and for my PhD I'm home.
Welcome home.
Yeah, my question is the globalization and internationalization of education. Yeah, you mentioned the 21st century knowledge workers. I think the sizable part of the knowledge workers working in universities and countries, they're from abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your vision for the globalization and internationalization of education in this financial crisis? That means, do we are going to accept more international students or reduce enrollment?
Well, hopefully what we're going to do is accept the most qualified students regardless of, at least at the graduate level, regardless of whether they're from the United States or not. Now, a place like North Carolina at the undergraduate level has pretty severe constraints on it in terms of how many undergraduates we accept from abroad, because we're mandated to only have 18% of our first-year undergraduates outside North Carolina. And that's a very, very competitive pool, as you might imagine. And so for international students to compete in that pool is difficult. But at the graduate level, we don't have any such constraints. And the graduate programs we have are internationalized. And I don't expect the financial circumstances to disproportionately affect international students who are applying to our graduate programs. I think our graduate programs, if they have to cut back, they'll continue to admit the best students, and if those students are from abroad, I don't see any intrinsic hurdles to that other than the ones that we've heard about immigration recently. But I think now with the new administration in Washington, that's likely to get straightened out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have this sort of the opposite problem of being drawn into a lot of kinds of relationships. And can you think of ways that, especially because a lot of our schools tend to be small, we can leverage that rather than sort of being this opportunity overload where we keep having to slice off things to not collaborate? Are there things that the university can do to sort of encourage that or make that a little bit easier for us?
Right. So the question is, if you are in a school of information and library science, which tend to be smaller schools compared to a lot of the other schools that you would have in a big university, and you have everybody wants to come collaborate with you, then what do you do about the fact that I guess that makes it harder for individual faculty to have their own individual research identities, and you don't want to be seen as shunning all the interdisciplinary work that's coming in over your transom. Well, I think, again, depending on whether the leader of your school is a dean or a department chair, the person next up in the line needs to be providing a lot of help to you to manage that. So, again, it kind of gets to what I was saying about what leadership is and what teamwork is. So your provost probably is aware of this. If not, then he or she should be, and that's something that they should be actively helping you manage. Yeah.
I was wondering how you, as the Chancellor of a public university, make the case for higher education as an investment in a public good, as opposed to what seems to be the prevailing thought of higher education as careerism and a individual asset.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, how do I make the case to the taxpayers of North Carolina and their elected representatives that that higher education is something for the public good and not just a way to help people get a good job? That's the question. Yeah, so if you, I think there are a couple things. One is that a liberal arts education is a uniquely American idea. And since a lot of if you look at education in other countries, students are sometimes selected for their profession when they're a young age, and it's very hard for them to get off that track. So what's different about American higher education is that we let students select their major late in their career. We strongly encourage them to graduate, but sometimes they don't graduate as soon as we want them to. Partly that's because they're changing their mind about things. And we have, fairly broad distribution requirements in our curricula. And those are all things that are prevalent mostly in the United States higher education system. So if you take the position that the United States has been more innovative and brought more innovations to society than other countries, which we might all debate, but a lot of people, a lot of the 9 million people in North Carolina would be very quick to say that, of course, America has been the great innovator. Then you have to take it that the things that are unusual in our education system related to breadth are particular assets that we shouldn't throw out the window. So I think that's one thing. And then I think the other thing is that almost all public universities, the great leaders that have emerged from those universities. So if you were to come to my university, there would be this kind of standard list of all of these people who have graduated from our university that have done all these great things. Most of them are liberal arts majors. So there are very few, if you ran the list of great leaders of North Carolina that went to our university, very few of them got a business degree or a pharmacy degree. Most of them got degrees in the College of Arts and Sciences. And so I think, there's a strong case to be made along both of those lines. And the important thing is for folks like me to be constantly out there beating that drum. And I guess there's a corollary to that, which is another thing that I've tried to do, and that is when public universities go out into their state and say, this is what we're doing for you, the first thing has to be that we're providing a broad, research-based education to your young people. We have a tendency, university presidents have a tendency to do something that's a little easier, which is to pick some individual program inside their university that does outreach and show and say, this is the important thing that we're doing. And there's nothing wrong with those things. All of those things are wonderful, and we have a great list of them here at Chapel Hill. But what I try to do is to say that education is the first thing. Nothing else we do is going to come close to doing for North Carolina what we do when we educate the young citizens. And then if I'm in a particular location, then maybe I can roll out a few things that we do that benefit their area, from the School of Social Work or the School of Business, where we've helped a business or something like that. So yeah, we just got to beat that drum as hard as we can beat it. I mean, you're absolutely right. Okay, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Chancellor. We know you're extraordinarily busy, so the fact you're willing to spend this time with us is great. Thank you very, very much. Thanks. So.